everyone. Hope you all are doing good. So today is the last session of the chapter 1, which is session 3, and today we will complete our first chapter. Okay. So let's see. Let's start. So in this today's session, what all we are going to learn. The first thing we are going to see is memory, and then we will see power supply to a computer system, and then we are going to see assembling the computer. Okay, so these are the three topics which we are going to cover today. So let's start with memory. So before starting this topic, let me explain you the concept behind memory or how our memory data between the memory and CPU works. Okay. So usually we have something called as a secondary memory, and then we have primary memory, and then we have our CPU. Okay. So inside CPU, as we have seen before, we also have registers here. Now these registers are very small, but they are very fast. Okay, but then they store very small amount of value they can store. Next comes is our primary memory. Okay, so primary memory and secondary memory. Whenever the CPU needs any information, first it will always access the register. If it is not available in the register, then it will go to the primary memory. Okay, and it will see if the required data is available in the primary memory. If not, then the secondary memory is accessed and the data is transferred to primary memory first, and then it is moved from the primary memory to the registers. Okay, I hope this concept is clear to you all. Okay, so let's just move on to memory now. A computer memory refers to the electronic storing space for instruction and data where the computer processor can reach quickly. Now, whenever we say a computer's processor, you should know that it is nothing but our CPU. A computer memory refers to the electronic storing space for instructions. Memory is nothing but it's an electronic storing space, okay? And it stores instruction and data, which is accessed by the CPU. And why does it access? It accesses those data in order to perform certain calculations, okay? So there are two types of memory. One is internal memory and secondary. Now have a look at this image here. So in this image, there is a triangle, and inside the triangle, they have mentioned all types of memory, isn't it? We can see register, we can see cache memory, we can see main memory or RAM, we can see hard disk, and we can see magnetic tape. And see here carefully that they have mentioned access time and storage. And they're saying the access time is increasing. It means when it is in the register, the access time is low. Okay, so when it reaches magnetic tape, the access time is high. Similarly, see here the storage. The storage is also increasing. That means at register, the storage is low, and at magnetic tape, the storage is high. So what do we understand by this image is the register always has low access time. It means the CPU accesses this within few milliseconds and nanoseconds. Okay, so it gets accessed faster than magnetic tape. After register, we have cache memory, and then main memory, and then hard disk, and then magnetic tape. So magnetic tapes a very long time to get accessed. Fine. Similarly, the storage is increasing, as in register has very small storage, cache has next, okay, main memory, next comes as main memory, and then hard disk and magnetic tape, which means magnetic tape has more memory, but also it takes more time to get accessed, wherein which our register has small memory, but it takes very little time to get accessed. Here you can understand, isn't it? This is our main memory, and this is our secondary memory. Okay, so this is all about memory. So let's just move on to what are the internal memory. So internal memory includes registers, cache memory, primary memory, which can be directly accessed by the CPU. Okay, so these internal memory are those which are registers, cache memory, and primary memory. Secondary memories are rest of them. Okay, so what are the features of this internal memory? They are temporary storage. Okay, this is an important point. We don't store information permanently here. Permanently, if we want to store something, we always store it in the secondary memory. Fine. It has limited storage capacity. It doesn't have more, and these primary memory are expensive also. Okay, they are fast to access because CPU access them first. They are fast access and also high cost. Now these are the four features you should remember about the internal memory. Now these internal memory comprises of registers, cache memory and primary memory. Okay, now let's see them one by one. The very first one is registers. Okay, now what are these registers? Let's see in detail. Registers are high-speed temporary storage areas located inside the CPU. These are available inside the CPU itself, and they are very high speed, and also their storage is very small. Okay, the data and instructions are moved to the register for processing. This means whenever CPU needs certain data, suppose if it is calculating a plus b, for example, and it needs those values a plus b, then it will be moved from your RAM to RAM or cache to your registers. Okay, so registers work under the direction of the control unit. This we have seen, isn't it? Control unit controls the major operations of entire computer. So it works under the direction of the control unit to accept, store and transfer. So the control unit is the one which tells the register which data to accept, which data to store and which data to be transferred back. Okay. Instructions or data and perform instructions or data and perform arithmetic or logical comparisons at high speed. So this is the feature of our register. What it does, it performs arithmetic and logical comparisons at very high speed. The number of registers in the CPU and the size of each register affect the power and the speed of the CPU, which is very obvious, isn't it? If there are more registers available in a certain computer, then obviously the performance of the computer will be high, right? So the size of each register and also the number of register affect the speed of the CPU. Okay, so this is all about our register. Next we have in our internal memory is cache memory. Okay, and this diagram or you're seeing is very important from the exam point of view because you will have to draw this. Okay, so whenever they ask about cache memory, now what is a cache memory? Cache memory is a very high speed memory placed in between RAM and CPU. Now this is a primary memory. Primary memory comprises of nothing but RAM and ROM. Okay, so when I say RAM or primary memory, you can understand that it is RAM and CPU. See here, CPU and registers are inside the CPU. Okay, so always the cache memory is placed between CPU and RAM. Now it is used to increase the speed of the processing. Why do we need this? Is to increase the speed of the processing. These are also very expensive. CPU has built-in level 1 cache and level 2 cache. Now there are two types, level 1 and level 2. Okay, and sometimes some CPUs will also have level 3. Now usually these level will be 256 kilobyte. They are I'm talking about their size, and this will be 6 MB and this will be 12 MB most of the times. Okay, so okay, so this diagram is very important. As you can see, the CPU initially it access register. If not, before accessing the primary memory, we can have a cache memory in between them. Now, this is also very fast. This also increases the processing time. Okay, then after that, if it is not available here, then it will go to the primary memory. It will access from primary memory, and secondary memory always comes at last. Okay, if the data required by the CPU is not available in any of this, then it is accessed from the secondary memory. So cache memory is also important in order to increase the speed of the processing. They are also very expensive. There are three types, L1, L2 and L3. Clear? Okay. So this is the second type of internal memory we saw. The third one is primary memory. Now, primary memory is also known as a main memory. Okay, this memory is of two types, RAM and ROM. And what does RAM stands for? Random access memory, and ROM means read only memory. Okay, now let's see them. The ROM is a very small memory which stores the boot firmware called BIOS. This we learned in the last session, isn't it? So BIOS, what does it do? It will as soon as the computer is switched on, it checks the peripheral devices if it is connected and if they are functioning properly, isn't it? So even when the computer is switched off, the contents of the ROM remains available. Okay, so this is very important. ROM is read-only memory, and even when you switch off the computer, the content remains available, which means it is not volatile. The next one, which is RAM, random access memory, is a faster memory and volatile in nature. Now, what do you mean by volatile is whenever you switch off the computer, the whatever you have stored in this RAM gets erased. Okay, that is when the power is switched off, the memory is lost. Okay, it temporarily stores the computer's operating system. So it temporarily stores the computer's operating system. So as soon as you switch on, what does the BIOS does? It will load the isn't it? We learned it in the last session. It will load the operating system. So where does it load? It loads into the RAM. Okay, and then our computer starts working. Now, application programs and current data. So that the processor can reach them quickly. Okay, so along with the operating system, it also loads the data which is required by the CPU in order to perform a certain task is also stored where? It is stored in our RAM. Now there are various types of RAM. Now what are those? First one is a DRAM or dynamic RAM. Now RAM means random access memory, that you should know. Okay, SRAM or static random access memory, SDRAM or synchronous dynamic random access memory, DDR, SDRAM or double data rate SDRM. Okay, so these are the basically four types of RAM which is available. Let's see them one by one. What does they do? Okay, first one is a DRAM or a dynamic RAM, is used as a main memory. So DRAM is used as a main memory since it is small and cheap. Okay, DRAM must be refreshed continuously to store information, otherwise it will lose what it is holding. Okay, so since it is a volatile one, we have to keep refreshing in order to for it to hold it for a longer time. DRAM is slow because the refreshing takes time, obviously. So we have to keep refreshing if it has to hold the data. But when we are going on refreshing it, what it is taking time to refresh. So that's the reason it is slow. Fine. The second one is SRAM or static random access memory. What is it? It takes more space on the chip than the DRAM cell. Okay, it does not need constant refreshing and therefore it is faster than DRAM. You see the difference here. Okay, it is more expensive than DRAM and it takes up more space. So there is advantages also, there is a disadvantage also. It stores information as long it is supplied with the power. Okay, so as soon as you switch off, all the data will be lost, whether it is DRAM or SRAM. SRAM is very fast and easier to use. Okay, so this is about DRAM and SRAM. So let's go to the next slide and see the other two RAMs. The third one which we have is SDRAM or synchronous dynamic random access memory, is synchronized to the system clock. Okay, so system clock, you all know what is that. So it is synchronized, as in it is parallel or along with the system clock it works, hence has the data ready when the CPU requests it. Okay, this increases efficiency by reducing CPU waiting time. Now, what do you mean by CPU waiting time? Like I told you before, whenever the data is not available in the register, it has to access from the cache. If it is not available in the cache, it has to access from the internal memory, isn't it? Or primary memory. Now, what is happening? The CPU is doing certain work and it is waiting for the data. Now, SDRAM, since it is working parallelly with the system clock, it knows what the CPU needs and it keeps it ready. So, because of this, the CPU time is reduced. Okay. The fourth and the last type of a RAM is DDR, SDRAM or double data rate SDRAM. Works the same way as does ordinary SDRAM. Data transfer rate is double when compared to SDRAM. Okay, so this is similar to our SDRAM, but here data transfer is double as its name says. Okay, it is double as its name says, which is double data. So because of that, it is faster than SDRAM. So this is all about our primary memory and types of RAM. So we learned about memory. What are the types of memory? Which are fast, which are slow, which takes more time, and all that stuff. Hope it is clear. The next topic we are going to is power supply to a computer system. Now this is also important, isn't it? Because if there is no power supply, the computer cannot perform all these tasks which we have discussed. So there are two types of power supply generally we give it to the computer. Okay, one is SMPS, which is switch mode power supply. Now let's see what is this. Converts AC power from the electrical outlet to the DC power needed by the system components. Okay, and power card plug and a fan for cooling. SMPS converts 230 volt of AC to 5 to 12 DC volts. So computer needs power in the DC. Okay, so normally the general power supply what we have is AC. So this particular device, SMPS power supply, what it does is it converts and gives it to the computer the way it requires it. Okay, so this is about our SMPS power supply, which is the first type. The next one is UPS, uninterruptible power supply. This we would have, most of us would have seen it. Includes a battery to maintain power in the event of power failure. Most of the places like firms or colleges, so in your labs and all, you would have seen this kind of power supply, UPS. So it will have a battery which gets charged when there is a power and there is no power supply. It will give the power to the computer, isn't it? There are two types of UPS, which is online UPS and standby UPS. Okay, what is an online UPS? It continuously provides power supply from its own inverter even when the power line is functioning properly. So what is happening here is even when there is a power, the power comes to the system through online UPS, whether there is a power or no power. Okay, online UPS is more costly than the standby UPS. Okay, what is a standby UPS now? Switches to battery power as soon as it detects a problem. So as soon as the power is switched off or when power goes, this UPS starts working. Before that, when there is a power, the standby UPS will not supply the power. Wherein which your online UPS, even if there is power or no power, it will be giving you power supply to your computer. But standby, what it does is, if there is a power, then it will stand by. It will not work. As soon as the power goes up, it will start working. It will start giving power supply. The switch over to battery, however, can require several milliseconds. This most of us would have experienced it in our lab, isn't it? When the power goes off, immediately power will not come. It will take some seconds for the power to come back. So this is standby UPS. Okay, during which time the computer is not receiving any power. Now this is the disadvantages of this, because suppose if there is certain important data which you are working on. Okay, so what happens in your RAM, as soon as the power supply went off, it's volatile, so it gets erased. So that is the risk. But in online UPS, what happens, it's continuously giving you power no matter whether the supply is there or not. So in that case we will not have a problem of data getting lost, but they are costly ones, online UPS. So this is about power supply to the computer system. The next and the last topic for this session we have is assembling the computer. Okay, so till now we have seen the various components required by the computers, the terms related to the computers, what all each of them mean, motherboard, what are the things we connect to motherboard, memory, power supply, everything. Now if you have to build a computer of your own, what are the basic things required? Okay, so that is what a small list we are going to see. Okay, so as you can see here, we need a case for our CPU, a CD-ROM, CPU or a processor is required. Case fan is required in order to cool your processor. CPU fan is required. Hard drive is also important because it is your secondary device. Keyboard, mouse, memory, your modem is required. Of course, monitor should be there. Power supply should be there. Network card and motherboard. Okay, so these are the basic ones. Let me show you a list here. Okay, so these are all the components we have learned about all of them. Okay, So if you want to build or assemble a computer, these are the main things which is required. So here they have mentioned the company for only one, but this is not required actually. So it is left to you what type of which company components you need. But otherwise, first thing we need is of course the processor, isn't it? The CPU. Then a motherboard has to be there because without that we are not able to mount any of these, isn't it? Then a primary memory RAM is required, then a secondary memory is required, cabinet with SMPS is also required. Now SMPS is, we have seen the power supply, okay. Then we need keyboard, mouse, monitor, printer, this is also optional, camera is also optional, mic is optional, UPS has to be there at least it says 20 minutes, okay, because again you will lose your data otherwise. As soon as the power goes up you will lose your data if you don't have a UPS. And the speaker, now the speaker, camera, mic, printer, these are all optional, but these things has to be there. You have to have a monitor, you have to have a keyboard to give an input, mouse is required, and then CPU and motherboard with RAM, that is your primary memory and secondary memory, okay. And apart from that, whatever we have learned, they are all optional, you can include them. We have seen so many ports, so many slots available in a motherboard, so all that you can use in case you require them only, okay. So students, this is all about our chapter 1. We have completed the lesson 1. Hope you have enjoyed it. Okay. So this is a blueprint of the, according to the Karnataka Pre-University Education. Okay. So this is a blueprint given. This chapter, from this chapter, you will get a 1-mark question and also a 3-mark question. So total marks given is for 4 marks. This is a blueprint which is normally given. Okay. This is not for the reduced syllabus. I am giving the blueprint of the normally how it is given. Okay. So if you are seeing the very important previous year questions of these chapters are, as you can see, the 1-mark questions can be what is data bus, what is motherboard, expand ISA. Most of the expansions will be asked from this chapter. Okay, expansion will be asked commonly. Okay, what is cache memory, what is a bus, what is the use of SMPS, what is microprocessor, expand SMPS, expand the term DDRRAM, give the purpose of expansion slots. Okay, so these are the definitions, and also you have to know the expansions because very commonly they ask expansions from this lesson for 1 mark. 3 marks questions they may ask. So these are the previous year questions I have arranged here, as you can see. So they have asked already what is a port, explain serial port, what is a function of UPS, mention the different types of UPS, expand UPS, explain the types of UPS, explain the 3 types of motherboard, explain the characteristic of a motherboard, what is the purpose of ports, buses and controllers in the input output system, what is cache memory, explain its type, what is the motherboard, explain any 2 characteristics of the motherboard, what is the purpose of UPS. So from UPS they have asked many questions, okay, so be careful about it. Mention the different types of UPS, write the function of data bus, address bus and control bus, and also along with this components of motherboard, okay, components of motherboard is also important question, right? So students, this is the end of the chapter 1. Hope you have liked the videos. Very soon I'll come with the chapter 2 also. So I'm hoping to complete the entire syllabus and I'm hoping that it is going to help you all. Okay. So till then, take care. Bye bye.